Ghost leader Tobias Forge revealed he's not particularly fond of the band's new singer Cardinal Copia, explaining to Revolver that the musician still has to prove himself to be accepted in the fold. He said, "The Cardinal is not the boss. He's just the toastmaster. A Cardinal is junior to a Pope figure. We still have Papa Emeritus, a.k.a. Papa Nihil, but he's passing on. He needs to teach the Cardinal to become a Pope, to earn his skull paint." He continued, "There was gonna be a moment in time where you have to sort of chew through a little bit of an underdog person that you might not like. So we end up with this character that I'm not even fond of myself. He's new and he is an imposter and he hasn't proven himself yet. But if he does, he will become Papa 4.
Ghost frontman Tobias Forge talked about his anonymity officially disappearing after he was sued by former members of the band, explaining to Blabbermouth how much damage the whole thing did and what the whole thing ultimately taught him. He said, "I haven't felt very anonymous for many years. I don't feel very bummed by that. I can feel bummed about the reasons why it was revealed. But it didn't do much harm. I don't feel, in any way, like a loser here, and it didn't seem to do a lot of harm. No, especially with a little bit of hindsight and couth. It's fine. I feel good. It's going well. I'm out here working. I made a record. You know, it's always alarming, obviously, when you have people, and some of them used to be close to you, working diligently to destroy your life. That's always a bummer. That sucks. Sometimes that happens in all parts of the world, at workplaces, in schools, in families, in relationships and friendships. There's nothing new about it. It's perfectly natural. It's a sad avenue to ride down on, but it's a part of life and it's fine." He was asked, did the lawsuit make the new album Prequelle more difficult to make? Actually, no. It wasn't that hard to write, because there was a lot of other things that were also off my plate. So, in a way, I felt together with Tom Dalgety. I think we were both very determined. This might sound crazy. I think we both felt the urgency. Going into it, we already knew that we had a ton of material to work with. So, we knew we had this song, and that's going to be great. Then we have that song, yes. But, still, let's really put time into making sure that this record is everything it can be, because we didn't want to mention it every day. But, of course, at the end of some days, it was my life is depending on this record. This is a moment of truth." Tobias added about his former bandmates, "I think many business people who have their own pizzeria or grocery or bar, or whatever, I think you learn that you need to be very cautious who to bring in. You should hire people because of their abilities and not proximity. You usually learn the hard way, unfortunately. I learned that. So, lesson learned. It's all good. I'm never, ever going to do that again." Ghost's Tobias Forge talked about his identity being officially made public during the lawsuit with his former bandmates, telling Billboard, "I've always tried to point out that there is a great difference between being anonymous and being unmasked, and I still will put a lot of effort into preserving the latter. The thing that I tried to achieve originally, and what I've been trying to maintain, is the sense of theater, rather than a classic kind of rock and roll presentation. My idea is, Ghost is basically a theater show that you could come and see, like Hamilton, and you don't have to worry too much about the real stories. I guess I've become a little bit more of a normal rock artist, but now it's my job to do my darndest to preserve the aesthetic and the theatrical qualities, and I'm going to do my absolute best to do that." He added about how the whole thing impacted the new Ghost album Prequelle. "I had a personal situation that urgently told me to salvage the situation and reclaim what is mine, and also justify that it was mine to begin with. This was a record about survival through trauma. The end result is positive, but it's about taking a very negative situation and forging it into something great that you can learn from. It's just growing pains, and all of this shit has been the result of things going well, not the opposite. You have to be glad with what you have and cherish that. That's what I'm doing as we move forward. My mission has always been to take it further and forward. That's still highest on my priority list." Tobias also talked about the band's current lineup and setup, saying, "We have a bigger band now in terms of personnel, so it's way more live now. Before we were doing a little bit of the modern trickery, with backing tracks and stuff to make the whole sound a certain way. Now we're taking that away, so we're a little more like a Springsteen or Guns N' Roses sort of band with backup singers and everything. It feels great. It's gonna be the best version yet. The theme of this year's Met Gala, held last night at the world-famous New York City Art Museum, was Heavenly Bodies, Fashion in the Catholic Imagination, and Rihanna lived out that concept by going full-on Pope. The pop star and fashion icon hit the red carpet wearing a pearl and crystal-embellished Maison Margiela gown complete with matching jacket and mitre-style hat. The Swedish occult rock band Ghost, famous for its papal frontman Papa Emeritus I, II and III, were quick to react, thanking the singer and saying that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. The group's new frontman Cardinal Copia, who is not yet a pope himself, also relayed a very important question to fans on social media from the clergy on Instagram, saying, "We wish to inform you that the clergy needs help in deciding who wore it best." Here are some pictures to compare, and Rihanna showing of the impressive dress at this year's Met Gala. Ghost frontman Tobias Forge was asked by Z93 whether the band could continue without him, similarly to how Kiss is seemingly planning to carry on without Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, to which he replied, via blabbermouth, "I think that there's a lack of perspective that we have as a music-loving community, the general population. I mean, I've never heard Beethoven's music played by him, and that's fine. Same as Bach and Vivaldi, and I think that just because we're living at the tail end of the classic rock era, where the masters are still, half of them, at least, are alive, there's no way for us to understand how they will live with the idea of rock and roll 50 years from now when all of them, all of us, might be dead. So my job, my only task is to try to do this as good as possible. First and foremost, I need to do it for myself and my family, that's what I'm doing. And then you try to make it as easy to, in whatever extent there will be an aftermath, some sort of legacy to keep, either be it copyrighted things, monetary things, you just try to box it as neatly as possible in the future for anyone who's going to take care of it. But I have no idea if there will be a demand. It's not up to me to think about. And it's not up to me to talk about Kiss that way. I've liked Kiss from when I was 3 years old. I've seen them, the real deal, with all the original members, when they came back in '96 and all that, and that's fine. How that is being revered and treasured in the future, when they're not able to do it anymore, because of physical conditions or not, basically, being alive, it's not up to me to, that's for the future generations to decide, whether or not they want to be entertained with that. But I would love for, when I'm 60, 70 years old, and if I have grandkids who want to go see the Kiss show, that would be lovely. Of course. What else are we gonna do? It wouldn't be the same thing, but it's fine. In a recent interview, Slayer guitarist Kerry King was asked for his opinion of the Swedish occult rockers Ghost, who share management with Slayer and have toured with King's band in the past. He said, "Dude, I love the imagery. I love it. I just hate the fucking music. I like them as people. You know, they've been on many tours with us. I can't get into their music. And I tried. I wanna like them, and I can't. I got their CD from Brian Slagel from Metal Blade. It was when Gary Holt first started playing with us, and I picked up Gary. And I'm like, Brian said, this is awesome, man. So we put it in, going to practice. It wasn't awesome. It wasn't awesome for me. It wasn't awesome for Gary either. I'm like, well, maybe the first song sucks. And we went to the next one. It's just not for me. I know Ghost is hugely popular, and I'm very happy for their popularity. And, like I said, they're the nicest guys you'll ever meet. It's just not my music. And I've tried so hard. Since then, a nameless school from Ghost responded to what Kerry King said, dismissing any bad blood over Kerry King comments. He said, "I don't even think that what he said was negative. He just said that he didn't like the band, that he didn't like the music. And you know, we're not for everybody. We've never tried to please everybody, so I didn't even see the negative element in what he said. It doesn't change my opinion on Slayer. I've been a Slayer fan ever since I was a kid, and I still love several of their records with all my heart. For me, it wasn't changing anything.